So in that case, I wouldn't call you a sellout because you're just evolving. But like
Yeah, like
in this specific case,
Ismail earlier when you were playing the music before the show, right? Ismail was asking how like I end up on this type of music, which was like a lot of southern beats. And it's because like, well, like, yeah, I lived in Atlanta for a year. So it's like I lived in Atlanta before I ever started recording like my demos. So like I had this strong southern influence from actually living in the South, you know? And I also got to live in Hawaii in '96. So it was just like I had these influences from like
so you
other
got to,
regions.
but you got to see then, like, because if you look at Atlanta today, it is like heralded as the thriving music scene everyone wishes they were. And so you got
Yeah.
to watch that as it was becoming that, right? Like you got to have a
Yeah,
year of
yeah.
being in that kind of.
Early. They only had Ludacris at the time, like besides Outkast, you know, like premiering. Like at that time, there was still no Ti, there was still no G. I mean, like they was in the hood, but they was not known like the way that they were. You know, Atlanta was just bubbling. It was really bubbling when I was there. Which was right before the towers dropped. It was super bubbling. Like it was getting really big in Atlanta, and the scene was just really incredible. And I just loved Atlanta so much. I probably would have fucked around and stayed in Atlanta longer if I didn't run into legal troubles there. Um, uh, shouts to Georgia, shouts to Atlanta. Um, but yeah, so like that's where the influence from that like type of music comes from, right? Is like, yo, that's like it's not like a New York dude who like, you know, is just like, oh, Atlanta's on the radio, so I gotta sound like Atlanta. It's like, nah,
Mm,
like this literally influenced me. Like before I even record my demos, I'm in this environment. So I'm rapping in Atlanta too, you know? So like, and I'm hearing their flows and their, you know, and it absolutely is influencing me, right? Like same way that my friends in the Bronx's flows influenced me up until that point, and Method Man's influence, you know, influenced me because I love this flow so much. You know, all these people, you know, they influence you because you know you you love it. And so like as an artist, yeah, you're absolutely right. I feel like all artists reserve the right to change their minds about, you know, some art that maybe they didn't like at some point. But like I love that shit all from the beginning, you know? I
yeah,
was
man.
into fucking southern shit before I even moved down south too. So that's what like helps me move down south. And like, you know, um
I also feel like sometimes though, like you just make connections in your head. Like I started looking at melodic trap more like I look at rock music, and I stopped looking at it so much like I looked at the lens that I would put like hip hop under, and then I just stopped caring about bars and shit, and I was just into it for a different reason entirely. So it's like sometimes that just impacts it. Nah, that's cool. Um, so I when did you what made you transition to Littyyy Bros? Honestly, like how did you decide to go down this complete like to me it feels like I don't know if I asked you that before in the last one, but I'm not now that we just had this chat, like how do you go from like, you know, big pun fucking influenced, you know, running through it, all these because you drop in honestly some seriously lyrical miracle spiritual coming through with bars on some of this
super
older work.
lyrical miracle
And it's
spiritual
like,
bars,
I have to
super
say,
rapidy rap.
I'm sitting there going, that's fucking Liddy, bro. There's the 21-year-old me be all over this shit. So how do
Yeah.
you like ultimately get from that to more where you're at with it now?
Um. I'm trying to see if I can get some extra good lighting in here. Some. Um. Because now the sun is all the way down. Only
Yes,
this
that's it.
light is behind me. Um. I mean, it was always kind of there, right? Like when you look at it, like you said it yourself when you were playing the music. You know, like you could see like Littyyy Bro shit kind of in the demo. You know, where it's like, um, uh, fucking you hear songs that are like, yo, this is a fun song, you know? I've always been into fun music and having a good time. So it's like, you know, it's just that back then, you know, the lyrical miracle is like the this is the thing. this is the thing I care about the most. And it was the thing that I cared about the most. And I did that. And, you know, I kind of satisfied myself and I had my full of it. And now the Littyyy Bros was like a way of like moving past that and being able to constantly have an evolving team. Like I was just looking at Littyyy Bros like, yo, you know, Jess and Paulie are around right now. They're down to run, but like I can keep this Littyyy Bros thing going. I'll name everybody like a Littyyy Bro, and everybody that features is a Littyyy Bro. And like whoever is the next people that want to do the next set of projects with me, they're Littyyy Bros and their faces are on the Littyyy Bro logo. And maybe one day it gets to the point where like I'm just like fucking executive producing the Littyyy Bros and like I'm not even a member like in the songs, you know. I'm just always constantly trying to look at things past myself, hoping in hopes of the fact that like in hopes that like there'll be success outside of myself with it.
Mm.
And so yeah, it's just uh what I felt was the natural progression. The project before Littyyy Bros that I did, the two projects that I did before Littyyy Bros were like Dutch Vega and Les Squad, and it's a double disc album. And I'm featuring all my friends on the songs on that I'm doing in the studio on first the first disc, and then the artists that are on the second disc is just all their songs on their own individually that I fuck with, that like they gave me for my project to like promote, like and then like after that is a project with me and the homie Gambit that we did in Vegas. And then it's Littyyy Bros. So it was like it was headed there already. Like I was back towards like this strong mentality of like, yo, you're not gonna get nowhere by yourself. Like, I mean, I could get wherever I'm gonna get by myself, but like to me, that's nowhere. That's
Right.
nowhere that I want to be. There's nowhere that I want to be by myself. Like I want to be there with my friends. I want my friends to be there with me. I don't want a big fat check all by myself. Like I want a nice check that I could split with somebody else so that we can have joy together, you know? And that's just always the mentality. So like that's why the Littyyy Bros.